Hey, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you may be in this beautiful, transformative, awakening planet of ours. This is Metaphysical Meetup with Mark here on the Intuitive Prospector page. Thanks for joining me this morning. That song it's called um, Vertige, Vertige, I think is how you pronounce it, by Ross Laura. So a lot of times when I use music on my shows or on my podcast, I always like to call out the artist name, music that I have. I have a sound collection through Meta that allows me to broadcast that music without any penalties or trademark or royalty-free kind of music. So her name is Ross Laura. So if you like the opening of the show, that was called Vertige by her. So how's everybody doing? Let me get over to the Facebook page here, see who's joining us this morning. So this morning, when I was sitting in meditation earlier this morning, I wanted to first just hold space and send healing and love to those on the East Coast, being that I'm here on the West Coast of the United States. A lot of storms, so I'm wearing my storm shirt today, as you can see. Because there's a lot of storms that have been happening, and Mother Earth is talking to us, right? She's telling us that we are changing the makeup of our planet. I don't personally believe that global warming is a debate anymore. I think it's been settled by 97%, 98% of the global uh, climate scientists. There is definitely, humans are making a difference on our planet. And so, the planet is responding, and I just want to send love and healing. I've got friends and colleagues that are on the East Coast that have been impacted by these raging hurricanes and tornadoes and storm surges, all the way, not even just, cities on the coast, but interior, hundreds of miles interior. So, these storms are now reaching in and causing just chaos and death. And so I just want to just send, my love and my thoughts and prayers out to everybody that are being impacted by Mother Nature storms. Mother Nature, I learned the power of Mother Nature early on in my career when I was in the U.S. Coast Guard. I was 23 when I joined. And I learned real quick. I was at one of the most dangerous bar crossings in the world, second to Cape Horn, Africa, called Cape Disappointment. It's literally called the Graveyard of the Pacific because so many mariners have gone down with their ships in this just area. It's where a big river in Washington State, the Columbia River, empties into the Pacific Ocean, and it creates these types of, where there's a school there called the National Marine Lifeboat School. I spent almost 3 years of my life, my first years of my Coast Guard there, on boats that would roll over and re-ride, go through the surf, and get pounded and all that. Probably why my back just had surgery right from those early years. But I learned real quick the power of Mother Nature. And if you find yourself disrespecting Mother Nature, she'll let you know. She will definitely get your attention. And I think that's, these storms, even though tragic and um, horrible and the loss of life, it's Mother Nature's way of talking to us, right? Um, we are changing our planet, and that just take it from somebody that was been on the, I've talked to old salty sea dogs that said, they're talking about how the waves have really, really changed. How just the turbulence and the intensity has increased just out on the ocean. So, and that the glaciers are definitely melting. You can see that, you can physically see that with the eye and recorded pictures over time. So, um, just set an intent. Just hold space for me for the duration of this show for those that have impacted family, friends, colleagues, coworkers that have been impacted by these storms. People without power, people without food. It is pretty devastating. So, and I did hear from a friend who does work for FEMA. Pretty devastating storm, and it was back to back, right? It was the hurricane 2 weeks ago. They couldn't clean up the debris, so now this storm takes that debris and makes it, like shooting daggers, right? Very, very dangerous, especially with sustained winds of 120 miles an hour. So, just thoughts and prayers are with all of you right now. So this morning when I was sitting in meditation, besides the storm, like what shirt am I going to wear today? And I was like, oh, I guess I'll wear the storm. I wanted to talk about today's show about other dimensions and the concept. Again, this is Metaphysical Meetup with Mark, and maybe you've had experiences with portals. Maybe you've had connections with the existence of other dimensions. Maybe you have no idea. Maybe you've just only ever you've only ever seen it in a Star Trek or a Star Wars movie or a sci-fi movie, right? The Star Wars, obviously, big fan of Star Wars, because I grew up with it, right? And in cinema, we had never seen anything in 1977. There was nothing like it in the world, and it has a direct correlation to today's movies and how movies are made. And you go to that with light speed. So you have light speed in Star Wars, you have warp speed in Star Trek, and then in other sci-fis like Stargate, they talk about these interdimensional um, portals in time. Because it's interesting, if we were to have the technology to go faster than the speed of light, I could leave the planet at 15 years of age and spend 5 years going through the universe faster than the speed of light. And if I was to come back to the planet after that 5 years of speed of light, um, I would only be 20 years old in my timeline, but everybody that I left back on Earth would be 65 years of age. So it shows you time, and you go through these dimensional portals. Have you ever seen Interstellar? Highly recommend it. Great movie. It talks about the theory of relativity. In fact, the movie came out years ago, and there's a point in the movie where they sit down on Miller's planet, named after one of the astronauts that had gone to that planet, and it's just a planet full of water, and where just water where it's only about 2 feet deep, and they find the wreckage, and they have to make the decision because they've gone through another dimensional portal out by Saturn, so the time has changed, and so when they go through this dimensional portal, they decide when they do sit down on this planet, they're down on this planet for 4 hours, but the 4 hours in this dimension on Miller's planet becomes 10 years on planet Earth. And so Matthew McConaughey leaves his daughter behind. So he knows just in those 4 hours in this portal construct that his daughter has now just become 10 years older in the Earth construct of time. And so it's a very fascinating perspective of going through space, time, and just exploring other aspects of theoretical frameworks, scientific evidence. Always, when you follow my work, you follow my shows, I really try to blend the science method, the scientific method, logic and reasoning and rationality with spirituality, and combine those two for the work that I do as the intuitive prospector. And to teach on laying out a buffet, a smorgasbord of information, and you pick and choose what makes sense to you, and maybe some of the stuff you don't understand what I'm talking about, and that's fine. That's I've been on this spiritual path for many years now, and the awakening, maybe you're just starting that process, maybe you're farther ahead than I am. But if something doesn't make sense, don't let it trigger you into a negativity. It's just what we don't understand usually leads us to be protective in our learned behaviors, our ego, things that we've been taught to believe. And so when you're in this awakening process, it can be quite the journey. But I like to bridge the gap of science and spirituality, and that's why my company is called the Intuitive Prospector, because I don't know all the answers. And Plato reminds us, anybody that claims to know it all knows nothing at all. And I'm just all about exploring. Obviously, behind me you can see my tray of crystals and my pickaxe, and in my book, of course, and just sharing the philosophy and the soul adventures of what I've experienced and learned. And the existence of other dimensions has always been a fascinating topic. Again, going all the way back to science fiction, at some point science fiction becomes science fact. And when we start talking about the scientific evidence, the philosophical implications, and cultural representations, those are very important when it comes to other dimensions. So if you follow my work, you can learn more about me here at marclainhart.com, or follow my YouTube channel, or listen to my podcast, wherever you get your favorite podcast called Inspired Living. I always talk about that we have three eyes in life. And people are like, because you always think about Cyclops, like the one eyed or two eyes or three eyes. So, the three eyes represent the triangle, right? You have the two eyes here, and they come up into the brow chakra, also called the third eye. And the third eye correlates to the back of the brain, right back in here, called the pineal gland, or pineal gland, however you, tomato. All right, I've heard it both ways. The pineal gland. And what that is that gland itself is the same makeup. It's an almond-shaped gland in the center of the brain. It takes a lot of blood flow from the heart. I believe it's the second most blood flow behind, as the aorta distributes out blood, it goes up here to the brain. But it's called the third eye because it actually has the makeup tissue of the eye. It has the fluid around the eye, and it also has little cilia hairs that actually can pick up on different vibrations and frequencies. If we're talking anatomy and physiology, and I've been learning a lot about the pineal gland. Um, it's interesting because it can pick up in this third eye, this triangle set in between the temple. That's why these are called the temples, the temporal bone of the eye. But we have a temple, which if you think of a temple is usually in a triangle-based format of some sort, which triangle represents many different things. It's my latest tattoo is the triangle on my back. The Volknut tattoo, which is Norse mythology from Thor, and it represents birth, life, death kind of thing. But the triangle itself is the strongest geometrical shape on the planet known to man as of right now. But it also just represents, mind, body, spirit, Father, Son, Holy Ghost, Father God, Mother Divine, Great Spirit, however, whatever your belief system is, right? And so that triangle based here has always been interesting from just body mechanics, right? Body measurements, right? Like if you take your elbow to your wrist, and I wouldn't think that, but that's the length of your foot, right? So you can actually do body measurement. I've always been fascinated with the triangle, but the triangle of this is why it's called the third eye. And you can activate it and have some very interesting phenomenon take place. But the third eye becomes the eye, the all seeing eye, the eye that's closed. Especially if you had an awakening or a spiritual journey, or maybe you're going through grief and death and dying, or you had a near death experience, or maybe you're experiencing your own mortality with a terminal illness. But this third eye becomes the eye that sees, that is unseen. And so that's why I always teach my students and talk about all the time the three eyes in life: two to look, one to see. And the two to look are the material world, and the one to see. And this is where these dimensional references come into place, because I've had some very profound experiences with dimensionals through plant medicine, through deep meditations and trance, and teachers that have taken me to some pretty deep levels on the spiritual path. And the dimensions, if I was just to do an introduction, I kind of did some notes up to talk about this today, and then we'll get into some readings as well here in a little bit. But dimensions refer to what are called measurable extents of an object, traditionally understood as length, width, and height. So if you ever took algebra or basic math, you have your length times your width times your height, right? And that's in a three-dimensional construct space, right? That's what three-dimensional, again, that triangle represents. However, physicists and cosmologists have proposed for several years the existence of additional dimensions beyond these three, which can really fundamentally alter our understanding and the philosophy of our current makeup of the universe, right? And we talked about this in my development group on Wednesday. We talked about, what does it mean to you to be in a three-dimensional construct? What does it mean to you to be in a fourth-dimensional construct? What does that mean to be in a fifth-dimensional construct, right? Science has actually done many experiments, and they do know that the brain can receive in 12 different dimensional frequencies. So it's interesting to me because we talk about the 12 dimensions, and that's been written throughout history, going back ages, thousands of years. But it's interesting that, based on vibrations and frequency and energy, that somehow we can alter our mindset to be in a three-dimensional construct. So if you were a fish living in water, as a fish, in order to survive, you have to be in the water to breathe water. That's the only thing you know. That's your life. That's a two-dimensional construct. Humans, same thing. We have to be incarnated into the physical form and have a vibration, a density vibration that allows us to take air in. We need air. Without air, nobody on the planet lives, newsflash. And then exchange that to breathe out carbon dioxide, right? Which is then the planet then changes through the oceans, through the trees, through the plant life, changes that back into oxygen. So there's this symbiotic relationship, right? This symbiotic relationship of that triangle. What goes in, process, comes out, is re-emerged, and then done again. Kind of like the seasons, right? The trees right now in October are losing their leaves, but we know 6 months from now the leaves will come back. The seasons, the cycles. Unfortunately, it's our last 7 o'clock sunset tonight in Seattle. We won't see another sunset at 7 until March, right? So we're going into the darker period of our transformation. But everything is in a cycle. And so when you start thinking about the universe and our vibrations, you're a 2D construct, you're a fish living in the water, that's all you know. 3D construct, you're a person breathing air, which you know that you need. But then we take it past the animal kingdom of all the other animals on the planet, with the exceptions of mammals, which would include dolphins and whales. And then I would throw octopus in there, because octopus also has 3 brains, and also has the ability to have empathy, logic, reason, and it has no DNA compared to any other. There's no cousins to the octopus on this planet, so it means they're not from here, if you think about it. So they're extraterrestrial. And they look kind of extraterrestrial. You look at how an octopus is built up, but they're, as far as the species goes, we're the one species that we think, therefore we are, right? So we have consciousness on a construct that's bigger than ourselves. So that's a three-dimensional construct. And when we move out of a three-dimensional construct, which we're doing right now, we are moving into a fourth dimensional construct. There are a lot of things that take place, and that's a dimensional shift because the vibration is different, the frequency is different within our minds, our thoughts, our beliefs, and social consciousness, right? So if we start to think in, I'll just kind of go into some theoretical framework to help you. So Newton, who, the apple hit him on the head and he talked about gravity, right? Newton, physics in three dimensions. In this classic view of what we would call physics, space is perceived to be three-dimensional, governed by Newton's laws of motion. Once something is in motion, it stays up in motion until acted upon an outside force, right? That's just the laws of physics. So objects are described by their positions in terms of height, width, and length. That's how we describe objects, right? Like we are a certain height, length, and weight, right? So our limitations, what we find when we start talking about other dimensions, this perspective fails on the account of the phenomenon known as the quantum scales, or as a strong gravitational field leading to the exploration of higher dimensions. We know that a black hole out there, we've witnessed it, we've watched this, that it pulls in all light. It has to go somewhere, but it's not in a construct that we can necessarily travel through in a physical, organic being way, right? That's why I believe that extra dimensional beings, because I'm an experiencer myself, they have the ability to alter their organic makeup. They might not be density physical flesh, they may be more energy and light and can move. And there's a lot of things happening in our world with extra dimensional beings, to where the Pentagon now has even relabeled it. It used to be UFOs. Most people know UFOs, unidentified flying objects, right, back in the day. Then a couple years ago, the Senate Intelligence Committee and the Pentagon changed it to UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomenon. Now, within the last 6 months, it's now been reclassified to unidentified anomalous phenomenon, which then takes the concept that it's not just aerial anymore. It can go from space, air, to sea. And there's a lot of interactions. The interactions I had, we were actually out on the ocean, out in the deep Caribbean, down by the Southern Cross, and we witnessed this light phenomenon in the middle of nowhere with no lights, no navigation lights, nothing, really early in the morning. And that would be a USO, an underwater submerged object, because it went into the ocean. So it's interesting that the terminology is being changed yet again, because I personally believe in our Roaring 20s that we're going to learn that we're not alone in our universe or on our planet, right? Because if you think about this planet, we always see the front side of the planet, right? We always see the land mass, but we know the planet is covered in 70% of water. And if you see the backside of the planet, it's all water. There's a lot of places that intelligent species, extra-dimensional beings, could hide out, right? What I'm saying is we're not the alpha species that we think that we are on this planet, and there could be a long history of species surviving within the oceans. And then think about the dinosaurs. We know dinosaurs are real. There's fossils to prove that. But we know also that an asteroid wiped them out, 65 plus million years ago. How do we know that a dinosaur didn't go deep down into the earth to survive and evolve over 65 million years? We don't know that because we haven't explored the interiors of our planet. So what I'm saying is, when we learn that we're not alone, do they come through extra dimensional portals? Are they here of this planet? Is there places on the planet that we talk about portals? Some of you have traveled to locations such as Sedona, such as Stonehenge, such as Easter Island, right? And so those are dimensional spaces. Mount Shasta is a big one. A lot of the mountains here, if you want to read a really interesting book, it's called Missing 411. It's people have disappeared in the mountains or woken up in different time, clothes on backwards, just all sorts. It's a fascinating book. I read it years ago. Still trying to get him on my podcast. He's doing a new book over in the Appalachian Mountains, but even mountains are known to be portals. Maybe that's why we can't find Bigfoot, right? So when you get into these limitations at the quantum scales or the gravitational fields leading to this exploration, this prospecting of higher dimensions, what we start to get into is another, what's called a quantum physics perspective, also known as string theory. And I try to break this down to where you can understand, because it can really for me, it kind of went over my head the first time. But one of the leading candidates for a unified theory of physics is string theory, which that it's a fundamental building blocks of the universe, and they're not just point particles, but more rather than vibrating strings. A good, I have this crystal that I got a few years ago, and this is what it looks like. So in the movie Interstellar, he talks about the tesseract, like these are different dimensional constructs, right? We're in this construct of Earth, and this is another dimensional construct, and this is another dimensional construct. So this is a really good analogy of what we call the tesseract, or dimensions that are intertwined with one another, and that's what string theory is. But the string theory is based on vibration. So for example, if I was vibrating faster, if my heart was going faster in a physical form, my heart wouldn't necessarily be needed organically or in a material sense, because the vibration would speed up. There would be no need for the heart. Therefore, you wouldn't see me with the physical eye, right? That's what we talk about, the afterlife, mediumship, heaven, whatever your belief system is, because I've always said that heaven isn't a location, heaven is a vibration. And so the string theory theorizes that there are 12 different vibrations in which we align to, right? When we're born, we're all about the same vibration, very dense, very low vibrational energy. And so as we age, sometimes awakening, midlife crisis, whatever you want to call it, the vibration increases, perspective increases, and all of a sudden you're now vibrating. And maybe that's all death is. Death is just the movement of the mind and the vibration and the energy and the frequency into this new format, right? So death doesn't have to be feared. But what happens is the theory requires additional dimensions for it to be outside that three-dimensional construct. And so typically 10 and 11 in total, it's mathematically consistent, based with numerology, based with mathematics. In string theory, brains, BRANES, are multi-dimensional objects. So they don't have to necessarily be length, width, and height. They can be many measurements, because they're known as brains in a multi-dimensional construct in a vibrational field called string theory. So our universe could be a three-dimensional brain existing, again, let me bring this stone back. This could be the three-dimensional construct right here. One of these little squares is the brain of which we're operating in, length, height, width. But within the makeup of everything, it's could be existing in a higher dimensional space. So if you look at the stone, there's many different brains within this space, right? And so that's what they talk about when it comes to portals, when it comes to dimensional alternatives. And what happens is, if you're a deep meditator, or you connect deep with nature, or you've worked with plant medicine like I have, then you start to open your mind. You start to change that frequency within the brain, the pineal gland, even your frequency, your auric field changes. And so when that happens, you may be opening up to dimensional constructs. Nothing to be scared of, right? Death is technically a dimensional construct. If you think about it, you don't remember being born, but that's a dimensional portal that you came through, right? Like some people, talk about at the end of their life, some claim to see this tunnel. I didn't see this with my ND, my near-death experience. I didn't even have the white tunnel, but some theorize that the tunnel that you see at the end, the white light, is you just coming out and being reincarnated again. You're popping out again, and just in a different time frame, right? Maybe even a different planet. So you don't remember being born, but in a sense that is a portal, because you came through. You were only energy to start. That's what conception is, the start of the energy in the egg and the sperm combining, and then at some point the heartbeat starts physically forming, and you become this. But before that, you were energy, right? So we always say that you're an energetic spiritual being coming through this portal of what we call birth, into this brain construct, to have experiences, to learn, to grow, to fail, to know, to become. And then eventually you're going to go through another portal, which we call death. So technically you've already gone through at least two portals that you know of. The portal of birth, literally, to incarnate into life. And then eventually you're going to go through that portal of death, which leads you to another journey. So, the multiverse theory, and it's funny because you see this in movies now. You see this like in the Marvel universe, the multiverse, right? We hear about the multiverse, and a lot of scientists are looking at this as a very real thing. And that would explain us not being alone in the universe, not little green men that are blowing up White Houses like we see in, Independence Day, for the movie, but that we're interacting with portals both here on the planet, within space, within our time, and that we may actually have the ability to go through stargates or interdimensional constructs, but can we do it as a physical human being? I'm not sure that vibration would work. You would have to maybe change your costume, your physical flesh suit that you have in order to do that. I don't know, but it's very interesting. But we have a lot of concepts on the multiverse theory, and we see it right now in our society, our reality, and in our movies. But the definition of the multiverse, it suggests that our universe is just one of many potential with different physical laws and constraints. So universal laws, physical constraints based on what brain you are existing in, right? There's a lot of Three Body Problem on Netflix was just a mind-blowing one. Dark Matter, mind-blowing. All explore these topics that I'm talking about. Another one of multiverse is what scientists have been calling the bubble universe. And we know through the Drake equation that there is billions and billions of planets out there just based on the mathematical length, width, and height of the universe, right? There's more planets out there than grains of sand and all the beaches on planet Earth, right? So think about that. That's very mind-blowing to think about what that Drake equation based on mathematics would actually define for other planets. And so scientists have theorized and hypotheses of what's called the bubble universe. And these are regions of space and time that have undergone inflation and become separate bubbles, each within their own universe, right? So it's like, wow, Mark's going deep on this Friday. But within its own universe, again, we come back to this. That's why I have it sitting here, because it's a reminder, the brain of one construct, three-dimensional construct, but then there's maybe another brain that is fourth-dimensional construct and fifth-dimensional construct, but all within its own bubble. But these could all represent different bubbles of consciousness and species, depending on, if we know that the octopus doesn't come from planet Earth and there are no cousins related to it from DNA, how do we know that there's not a whole planet of octopus that are doing the same thing you and I? They just look different and behave differently, but still have the same, survivability of life, right? So bubble universes, again, they're regions of space and time that have undergone inflation and have become separate bubbles within their own universe. And then there's also the many worlds interpretation. So maybe you've heard it as multiverse, bubble universe, many worlds interpretation, but what that is in quantum mechanics, and we're talking more and more about quantum computing, quantum physics, and science is always going to change. Science doesn't always tell the truth because it only tells what it knows up to what we understand at this point in time, right? Same with physics. We always say, as spiritualists, we're already ahead of what physics hasn't yet caught up to, right? But physics will change in the future as well, especially if we learn that we're not alone in the universe, because once we learn that we're not alone from an extra dimensional standpoint, from an extra dimensional being standpoint, philosophy, science, religion, communications, medicine, travel, all of that will change. Religion will literally change. And we have to just wait, watch, and witness for that to happen, which I predicted in our Roaring 20s. But in the many worlds interpretation, this interpretation points that there are possible outcomes of a quantum event occurring in separate branching universes. Now, there was a few scientists years ago that won a Nobel Peace Prize for their work done on what Einstein talked about, energy at a spooky distance or whatever, where you could take two atoms and separate them over, regardless of distance. It could be trillions and trillions of miles. And you trigger this one atom here to cold, to heat. This atom, regardless of space and time and distance, reacts simultaneously. So there is something about it from a scientific standpoint, but you may know it as the multiverse, you may know it as the bubble universes, or the many worlds interpretation. But think about it. You've already gone through one portal, the portal of birth, and we're all waiting for the next portal, which is the portal of death, right? Which death is not the end. Death is the next adventure, soul adventure, as I like to say. So as we get into, scientific evidence from what I've prospected over the years and the arguments that align to that, because there's always going to be arguments within our species, within our consciousness. But the 3D, if I was to break it down, like we talked about in group on Wednesday, if you choose to ascend to the next construct, that brain, The 3D is mostly what we're in this world, and we see the world. It's chaos. It's a storm. It's waves. It's people divided. It's people. And what happens in a 3D construct, again, we think, therefore we are, but you're mostly associated with ego. You're associated with your ego association in a 3D construct. You're associated with service of self. You're associated with your duality of who you are as a person. Um, Polarization, labels, separatism. We see separatism within because we're in that 3D construct, right? We're not evolving. And I would, that somebody had told me, or I saw it somewhere. They're like, people are placed in our lives to show us what de-evolution looks like for those of us that are striving to evolve, to become better, to become authentic, to become unique, to become aware. And you'll see people in your family, your friends, your coworkers, your colleagues that just, and that's fine. It's free will and choice, no judgment, but the blinders stay on and they're all about, control, all about rules and status and materialism, hard working. You got to work hard, that linear thinking approach versus the broader perspective approach. Fear lowering emotions, very low vibration, move to that fear energy. That's a 3D construct, and that is our world. And that's why our world is in such flux and chaos, because we are shifting. Our technology is shifting, AI is shifting, robotics is shifting, technology is shifting, mathematics is shifting, physics is shifting, science is shifting to a higher way of thinking. And that comes back here to the brain, right? Because, Einstein always said this 3-pound brain of ours on average is one of the most complex organisms in the entire universe. So think about that. And what's happening is, as we're more in this fear-based programming based on what we're watching, what we're listening to through television, television, programming of that television, right? We get into the more of the cause and effect. We get into more victim mentality. We get into more dense, slow, heavy vibrations. That's all 3D. So everything I just said there, if you align to that's where you're at. That's because you're existing in a 3-dimensional construct. And if you want to move, if you want to transform, if you want to find the diamond within and the many diamonds all around us, you start to ascend to a higher way of thinking, a higher way of being, a higher way of doing, right? And so when we move into the 4th D, which we're moving, society is moving, regardless of population, opinion, it's happening. And I work with clients and my students all the time, and I see the awakening. I see the light bulb, the eureka moment happening. And when we move into that 4D construct, we're now into a more of a mixed state gateway, that portal of consciousness, right? Being a conscious being, being a human being, being more aligned to how we treat ourselves, how we treat our others, how we treat our planet, right? That's where the 4D, and that's why there's been such debates about it, arguments, right? Because this goes back to scientific evidence and the arguments that support those scientific experiments and experiences, right? But when you move into a 4D construct, we're now talking about, expanding consciousness. We're talking about challenging old belief systems. We're talking about comparison of duality, but still seeking answers, right? That's that 4D construct. Understanding, looking at structures that are in place and have been in place, historically for many, many, many years. Connection. I think that's why we went through a lot of what we've gone through over the last few years, from COVID to this social media experiment. Democracy is an experiment, because at the end, I believe that we are about connection. I believe that we have more in common than we do apart. We're entitled to different opinions, but when you try to, make your opinion fact or put your opinion on somebody else's free will, that's where we run into, strife and struggle. So when we're in the 4th dimensional construct, we start aligning with our purpose for why we're here. And that's completely where I'm at in my journey. More compassion. I always finish my shows to be kind, caring, and compassion with whatever you do to yourself, to others on our planet. But also remembering who you are is a big part of the 4th dimensional construct. Synchronicities. Einstein always said synchronicities and coincidences were God's way of remaining anonymous. Whoever God is for you, if you believe in God at all. There are atheists, there's agnostics, and there's full believers. Again, the spectrum, right? The triangle. But in a 4th dimensional construct, synchronicity becomes very part of your daily routine. It's quite funny. It's quite comical. And of course, faster manifestation is what we visualize. I always believe things are born twice, first here, and then what we do in our reality. Hence that book right behind me. My concept of the book, participation in the book, materialized in the material world. So I always say, believe it, see it, achieve it, and go for it, because it's going to manifest quicker because you're aligned vibrationally here and here with what you're trying to do, because you're finding purpose, right, in a fourth dimensional construct brain. And of course, you just feel more connected overall. You feel connected. The plant medicines that I've worked with over the years, over this last year, I should say, not years, has really aligned me to this fourth dimensional construct, and is up on the door of the fifth dimensional construct, which is, unity consciousness. Know that we're not just a drop in the ocean, but we're an ocean in a drop, right? Knowing that we're aligning with the divine. There is a divine, from my perspective and from my opinion, there is a divine, something greater, more knowing, more intelligent, more loving than what we can understand. If you want to put the label of God, again, label is three-dimensional construct. Fourth dimensional or fifth dimensional is just aligning with the divine, whatever you term that to be, right? Service to others, you have a purpose, you're purpose-based, you're connecting to higher frequencies, you're being more authentic, your senses are activated at a higher, you have more abundance, more source information, unconditional sharing, guiding, supporting, universal knowledge, downloading, connecting with the ancient wisdom, the ancient tongues to share their knowledge of what the world is. It's quite fascinating. It's a quite interesting journey. But when we get into the scientific evidence and arguments of what I'm talking about today, the experimental evidence, particle physics, what I was talking about, is high energy experiments such as those conducted at the Large Hadron Collider, the LHC, in search of these extra dimensionals. They're searching for it right now. So there's money that has been invested in this LHC. I can't remember what country it's in, but it's a big ring over a mile, and they speed up particles, and they get them to go really, really fast. And what they're doing is looking for extra dimensional. So the science is being, it's being supported, it's being funded, and it's being tested on this dimensional construct. And if extra dimensional experiences or portals exist, they might manifest through the production of these particles that behave differently than expected, right? So again, you've got a particle and you speed it up or you do something to it, you add a trigger or catalyst to it, it behaves differently than what the current laws of physics understands. And so that means that it might be behaving differently because it's vibrating in a different reality, a different construct, a different brain, if you will. So when it comes to these experimental evidence, these particles that are behaving differently based on how the environments that they're in, the cosmic background radiation, these anomalies, this is another test that they've done. The anomalies in the cosmic microwave background radiation could hint at interactions with these other dimensional bubbles, universe, multiverse. So there's science being applied right now. There's quantum computing coming out. There's AI. I believe these, along with what we currently have in our technology, I believe these two tools added to that experiment will start to unlock some doors that have been remained locked or hidden for centuries, because we're now starting to have that consciousness alignment. So mathematical models, because again, I always say that mathematics is the universal language of everything, not Spanish, not English, not French, not Italian. Sorry, all, but it's mathematics. And the mathematical models, geometry and topology, advanced mathematic techniques, and what's called the Riemannian, I think it's called Riemannian geometry, are used to describe high dimensional spaces, and the properties of these geometries can lead to predictions about physical phenomenon and how they vibrate, but also the implications. The mathematic right now is constantly and consistently of these theories involving extra dimensionals can lead credence to their potential existence based just on a mathematical formula, despite the lack of direct empirical scientific evidence, right? I always think of Good Will Hunting. He was able, I don't think that way. Again, my thinking is more linear in the three-dimensional construct, where you see these formulas like in Good Will Hunting. He solves these formulas that haven't been able to be solved ever, and he solves it. And he's a janitor at Harvard or MIT, one of the two. And he solves it, and they're like, who did this? And nobody can claim it because he was doing the floors at night, and then there was a chalkboard out in the hallway, and he solved it, right? So, the mathematics, what I'm saying is the mathematics do support evidence of multidimensional construct. It's just not necessarily there yet because our tools haven't allowed us to understand or unlock those doors. So when it comes to the philosophical implications of, the nature of our reality, if you will, if there's existence in other dimensions, that's going to sit uncomfortable for some people, especially learned behaviors, belief systems, religions, because they don't really necessarily talk about it. But if reincarnation is a thing, and it's been talked about and written about in the top 10 religions around the world, then reincarnation is a portal, is another dimensional construct, because you have to go from birth, which you don't remember, come through the portal, live your life, your body wears out, but the energy has to go somewhere by the laws of physics today. So that energy moves through the power or portal of death. And then who's to say that, that reincarnation is us coming back, and that's another dimension, right? Because you're not going to be born in the same time. So with that, I will just drop some diamonds and let that sink in for a second. So the nature of our reality, and again, I'm sharing this today, and I know it's a little bit deeper on a Friday, but I wanted to start having conversations about this, because this is something I've learned and struggled with for many years, to understand the nature of our reality. When you're a medium, you walk between what is seen and what is unseen, right? You're in this medium space, trying to understand, why am I talking to people that are no longer here, but they're still here and telling me information, to somebody that's in the physical world, right? That's what we do as mediums, or as psychics, or as intuitives, or as empaths, or sensitives, right? And, when you talk about dimensional constructs, the concept of objects of being existing in a higher dimension, if you will, challenges, I feel, our perception of reality. And I know some people that have lost their sense of reality. I would even say, at times I've lost my sense of reality based on what I'm doing meditatively, or what I'm doing in trance, or what I'm doing with plant medicines. And what happens if dimensions exist beyond our perception, what does it mean for something to exist, right? We have to really talk about, what is our existence? Why are we here? What is our existence? What's the point of all this, right? And so that really becomes the nature of our reality, because again, we think, therefore we are. And the perception, understanding, our sensory experiences, because we have our sensory experiences to the material world. They're limited to those three dimensionals that I was talking about. And what happens is, in that three-dimensional construct, length, width, height, you start to question. And what happens is that moves you to that fourth dimensional construct, because you're questioning your own awareness. You're questioning, you're prospecting. That's why I became an intuitive prospector, because I knew there was more to me than what I learned up to that point in my life 2 decades ago. And so I wanted to prospect, to not only find the diamond within of who I am and why I'm here in purpose, but then that fourth dimensional construct that I started to prospect for led me to the realization, and to question, just because we see it doesn't mean that something else is not here through this aspect, but potentially the understanding that there are vast realities beyond our understanding, that there are things on this planet that we don't understand, physically, metaphysically, spiritually. And there's a lot of mysteries and mysticism to our history and who we are. Go to the mountains. There's a lot of mysteries just right there within itself. So, perception, understanding, and the existence of other dimensions is the nature of our reality. And if you're questioning that, good for you, because that means you're moving into a higher way of thinking, a higher way of being. The impacts, I think, that it has on our human understanding, it challenges traditional views, for sure. Accepting higher dimensions forces a reevaluation, I guess, of the fundamental principles of who we are, and also, the fundamental principles of physics, the understanding of time and space. Like I said, if I left at the speed of light as a 15-year-old for 5 years, and I came back 5 years later, I'd only be 20 based on my timeline. But everybody I left behind that was the same age as me when I left, they were 15 when I left, they'd be 65 years of age, right? So imagine that sense of reality. You come back and all your 15-year-old friends are now 65, right? You're not going to fit in very much, right? But what happens is it challenges our traditional views, and I believe that's what we're seeing. That's why there's so much divide and upheaval, because it does question the interplay between science and philosophy. I believe that the exploration of other dimensions promotes philosophical inquiries to our existence, into the existence of something beyond our understanding, our reality, and the limits of human knowledge. There are things that we're going to learn in our roaring 20s and beyond. It's going to be Star Trek. It's going to be Star Wars, and, again, science fiction's become science fact. So again, check out the best way I'd say this was, from just a popular culture and representation about trying to understand something. When you don't understand something versus listening to me, blab on for an hour here, go watch documentaries, go watch research, peer-reviewed scientific papers, go watch movies. Like I said, Interstellar I found that it explores the concept of higher dimensions and time dilation. Time dilation is a real thing. And Stranger Things, if you watch Stranger Things on Netflix, that's featuring the alternate dimensions, and it's reflection of society's fascination with it, right? That's why Stranger Things was very popular. The final season's coming out here, I believe, shortly. But it plays into, I've always questioned, does art imitate life or does life imitate art? Right? I don't know the answer to that, to be honest with you. But as far as, just the impact on our public perception, because it is, it's just a bunch of different perceptions all combined here on the planet Earth, which can be very blissful and peaceful, but also very violent and ignorant and divided, right? Based on our perspectives. But, the portrayals often simplify complex scientific concepts, making them more accessible to the general public while speaking in the interest of the underlying science of itself, right? Science has moved out more into mainstream thanks to social media, thanks to the news cycle, thanks to movies and books, right? So it's moved out to where society at a conscious level can accept that and be aware of that, right? So, you know, um, what are the implications of other dimensions? If we realize we're not alone, what would it mean to arts to understand, a deeper existence of the physics, if higher dimensions are confirmed, which I think eventually science and mathematics will confirm that, especially when we learn that we're not alone. I think the extra dimensional beings, the extra dimensional construct is going to play a big hand in unlocking these doors of physics, technology, science, and our progression to evolve to that next fourth dimensional, where we find ourselves in the future being in more of a fourth dimensional construct, trying to get to the fifth dimensional construct, trying to get, it's like going through grades, right? You start at kindergarten, you learn, you progress, you go through the steps of education to learn, to grow, to evolve, right? I think consciousness and higher dimensions is going to be a part of that step, if you will. So I know it's complex. I know that it's intriguing. I know that it can be confusing. But again, the existence of other dimensions, whether it's here, whether it's here, whether it's here, whether it's your auric field, the energy vibration, I believe it's spanning scientific theory and spiritual theory, philosophical inquiry where we question and, ask those deeper questions, and just the culture representation of, what if, why not, how do we get there? So math is showing that it's there. How do we get there in the physical world? So, it's a paradigm. It's scientific paradigms. That's what spirituality is. How do these theories, challenge the beliefs in current science, current religion? What does it say about the nature of our scientific progress and who we are as beings? Stay tuned, wait, watch, and witness. But that's why I have Metaphysical Meetup with Marc on Fridays, is to have these philosophical, scientific, spiritual conversations. And do I know all the answers? Heck no. No, anybody that claims to know it all knows nothing at all. But I want to thank you for hanging out. I hope that you're moving from a 3D into a 4D construct of your way of being, how you treat people. Words matter, how you speak to people, how you react to people. So be kind, be caring, be compassionate. Let's make this world a better place. Again, thoughts and prayers go out to everybody impacted by these horrible, very powerful, destructive storms. We're holding space. Just know that we're holding space for all of you and just sending you our love, our prayers, and protection, and that we get back up on our feet real soon. So let me head over to the Facebook page real quick. Give some shout outs. We'll get into the Q&A here. Let me open up the Facebook page. Again, if you want to learn about what I'm doing, what I'm writing about, what I'm podcasting about, you can go right here to marclainhart.com. There is no YouTube show today. There's usually a show that will stream over on my YouTube channel. I haven't had the bandwidth to get over there to upload that. So we'll get back in the swing of things as we move forward in the weeks ahead. So let's see here. Let's go over to the Intuitive Prospector page. Again, make sure to give a like or follow, subscribe. We can get my Diamond Hub subscribers. Hello to my team of administrators to help keep this platform positive through the social media brain, through the social media construct. Again, to my Diamond Hub subscribers, my Patreon prospectors, thank you for the follow. Thank you for the journey, to join me on this journey, if you will. I really appreciate all of you. So let's see. And again, thanks for sharing out the posts, liking the posts, contributing the posts. So I'm just gonna take a quick break here. We'll come back and then we'll get into some readings. So let me just see who's on with me today. 20 shares. Wow, thank you. Thank you for sharing. All right. Good morning, Wendy. Good morning, Jane. The Cube. Good morning to my mom. Good morning to Kara. Thanks for being here. Alex, hello to you. So a couple people have been tuning in, watching. Constantinos, am I saying your name right? Welcome to you. Thanks for being here. So today's topic, we're just talking about portals. We're talking about other dimensions. We're talking about what is the makeup, what is the physics, what's the science, what the spirituality that supports that, not just somebody's opinion. Like mathematics support, the brain supports other dimensional constructs. The question is, how do we get there? How do we evolve? How do we vibrate higher, right? It's about the higher vibration, right? And a lot of times the higher vibration means more of this. And that's actually my new tattoo. You can't see it all, but there's vibration right here. Vibrating higher, which means if you vibrate higher, you're not going to be as dense physical matter because you're vibrating higher. And by higher vibration doesn't require the density of flesh. So, hi, Bernard. Thanks for being here. All right, so we're going to get ready. Go ahead and get your questions ready, how the Q&A works. I will put a link in the Prospector page here. Let me get over to that page on Facebook. If you want to come in and you want to have a conversation or mediumship, that's how we do that through the Zoom room. I just ask that you turn your volume down just so we don't get feedback, because it's really hard to focus when I'm hearing myself. And then I'm going to go grab my phone. If you want to call, you can call in. Or you can just put a comment. You want a card reading, you can ask me a question. So it's really up to you. It's just a lot of prospecting, a lot of fun. I enjoy doing this. So we're going to cue up some music here. I'm just going to get in that space, mind talking about higher frequency, so I can help work and help connect and help, relate or heal or transform. I don't heal people, but I can open up doors through modalities of techniques to offer that healing, but I don't actually heal people. I'm a healer, but I don't heal people, if that makes any sense. So let me get over to, here we go. All right, so let's copy the link for Zoom. Invite, copy invite link. There we go. All right, so I'll put that in the comments section along with my business line. I'll put my avatars in there if you want to look for avatars. That's the best way. Or if my team wants to grab, if anybody has any questions, put a little heart there. Okay, there's that. And then if you want to call my business line, I'll put that number in there as well. The phone. Hi, Pamela. Thanks for being here. All right. So I think that went in there. Okay, so the number's there, the Zoom link's there, or you can put a question in the comment section. I work with my subscribers first, so if you're on my Patreon page or my Diamonds Hub, again, you can get everything at marclainhart.com or the Intuitive Prospector page if you want to prospect further with me and with the work that I'm doing, or if you want to visit my development group, which isn't open to the public, you're more than welcome to do that. Hi, Colleen. So we're going to just play some music. I'm going to share the screen out. I'm going to get, plus I have to go use the restroom, and then I'll be right back. But enjoy the quick 2-minute break, and then we'll be right back and we'll pick up taking the readings. But today's topic was all about other dimensions. You've already gone through one, we call that birth, and you're going to go through another, which we call death. So happy prospecting. All right, let me shut that off.
I am only a child living in.
Okay, well, I was able to get a quick break. Thanks for your patience. And I've got my telephone now, so you can call the number at 206-588-0661. And have a fantastic day, you as well. So thanks for being here. So if you got any questions for me, this is now the time to do that. Hi, Tony. Hi, Joseph. Joseph. Joseph Swan. Joseph Swan. I don't know if I'm saying your name right. The Cube. That's right, Jane. Hi, Jane. All right. So I'll take your questions now, and give them a call. You can come to the Zoom room, have a live chat. Hi, TC. If anybody has any questions, and I meant make the questions, I don't prescribe, I don't diagnose, I don't predict your death. That's not the type of work that I do. But if you got something that's on your heart, something that's on your mind, and if there are no questions, then we will call it a day, and we'll leave it on the topic of other dimensions. And that song was by Airlands, Diamonds, was it Diamonds on the Vine? So that's what that song during the break was. So, okay, well, I'm not seeing any. If my team is seeing any questions I may have missed, please let me know, because sometimes the algorithms don't kick in like they're supposed to, and I don't see everybody's real-time comments. Or if I missed your question, put a star, bump, ask your question again. That means it got lost somewhere up in the comments. So, but we're at the point here. If you've got a question, you want a card, book reading, mediumship, come on in the Zoom room. Call me at my business line, 206-588-0661. That's here in the United States in Seattle. So the phone lines are open. The Zoom room is open. The comment section is open. And I'll give it just one more minute before we. All right, Kara, thanks for being here. Thanks for being a subscriber. Could get a card for the week, please. It's been 1 year since my mother crossed. So it's 1 year. Well, okay. Well, happy heavenly crossing to your mom, who is very much alive. If you just heard my conversation about other dimensions and portals that we go through, she just went through the portal of death, but that does not mean it's the end of her energy, her memories, her thousands of memories, and her love, that who she is continues on, right? And so, I always challenge people, Kara, to ask, believe, receive, and perceive, and they'll show you that they're very much, you can't see it off camera, but I've got stacks of dimes about this high, 4 stacks of dimes from my brothers that I find. So, hi, Nick. So just, because it's the 1 year anniversary of your mother's passing, ask, believe, receive, perceive. Ask her to give you a sign, a symbol, or a synergy that you can feel, or a synchronicity that you can be like, oh, that's what mom was talking about. Hi, mom, and talk to her. And it's still an interaction, right? The interaction, the only difference is you're talking to her here versus talking to her, which is just a vibration off a chord anyway. Oh, right. So let's get you a card. I'm going to go with the flower sentience deck today, because I think flowers represent not only nature, but can be also the mannerisms of, maybe your mom trying to come through. So, so Kara, you know the drill. As I'm shuffling in the quantum multiverse, wherever you're at in the world, I'm here in Seattle, I'm shuffling the deck. When you hear the word stop in your mind, type it on the keyboard, hit enter, and that's the card that I will pick as I'm shuffling through. So you're actually choosing the card. You've been smelling her perfume recently, yeah. Claire Factoria is a huge Claire of our abilities to smell the different fragrances of the spirit world. So it's definitely a thing. So whenever you get, I'll give you about 10 seconds to figure out when to type in stop, and that's a card that we'll pull. And that's for anybody else that wants a card reading. That's how it works. I shuffle on my end. We work quantumly through the digital transformation platform of Zoom, and then you type in when you want me to stop shuffling the deck, as I'm shuffling right now. So stop, please. You got it. All right. So here's the card based on your intent to the message. This is called Bud Leah. Bud Leah. Now it's got a 9 energy. The 9 is the number on the card, and the 9 in numerology represents completion. So things have been completed, and then they start over at 1, and then they go through 9. So like this year, we're in the year of the 8, 2020. 2024, we're going to move into the year of the 9, 2025, and then we start over at the 1. So the 9 energy, I don't know, do you recognize this plant or this flower, the buddleia? I'm not very familiar with it, but here's the message. The buddleia is sometimes called summer lilac or the butterfly bush, and it's a magnet to butterflies seeking nectar. So again, it's the butterflies, right? So obviously transformation, that's very in line with what we're talking about. Hi, Kelly. Good to see you. Hello from Michigan. Recognize the transformation of the butterfly in yourself and find the nectar of life, which supports and fills life with joy and pleasure. Pretty good message, right? I almost feel like that's what your mom would say to you based on what you've been going through, and being that you brought up it was her 1 year passing, right? So the bud Leah, and unless there's a name connected to Leah, Leia, which I find all the time, the intelligence of the spirit world. But Buddleia has a sweet, delightful fragrance too. Welcome this card into your life to bring a lighter approach and freedom to flourish and enjoy the simple pleasures. Beautiful card. I hope that really resonates with you today. Kelly says, need to know what's ahead of me. Okay, well, I think we all want to know what's ahead of us, right? The best thing about the future, Kelly, is it comes one day at a time. So if you want to know what your future is, what seeds are you planting today to start generate the garden of the future you want for tomorrow, right? So think about that. You're welcome, Kara. Good to see you, my friend. Thanks for being a subscriber. Thanks for being here. Appreciate the interaction. Appreciate the community. Love that so much. Yeah, I loved it for you. You picked the card, but I love the message for you. So I love that, especially if you're open to listen to the spirit world and what they have to say to us. So Kelly, how would you like to glean the future construct? Like I said, the best part about the future is it comes one day at a time. That's from Abraham Lincoln. But hi, Oda, good to see you. Yep, Friday, blessed Friday. Yep. Kelly, what platform? You can come in, you can call me, you can come to the Zoom room. So again, the Zoom room link is in the comment section if my team wants to grab that if you need it. The number, my business line here in Seattle is 206-588-0661. You can give me a direct call. We can pick a card for you. There's 14 decks, so you can tell me what deck you want to pick, or I can pick it for you. We can go to a book reading, which is just off camera here. I've got a series of just enlightened books that we can work from. So Kelly, which way do you want to go for your future? Because again, it's not what you want, it's what we need at the time, right? I found that to be very, very true. Hi, David. Work related. So so we're going to work on work related question. Love that. What's ahead in the future? Card you pick. Okay. Let's go with the Oracle deck. Okay. So here's the Oracle deck. The circles, the bubbles. I was talking about the multi-dimensional construct, the bubble universe, right? Everything is cool. So Kelly, you're on deck. I've picked the Oracle deck for you. I'm going to shuffle the deck here on my end. We're working quantumly now through the aspects of digital. So as I'm shuffling on my end, you're going to type in, when you hear the word stop in your mind, type it on the keyboard, hit enter, and that's the card that when I see it come up, that's a card I'll pick. But I want you to pick it. I pick the deck, you pick the card. How's that? We'll work as a team. So I've got the deck, the Oracle deck. You pick the card. Just type in stop when you're ready, Kelly. And when we do this exercise, I give you about 10 to 15 seconds to really, up to 30 seconds. Hi, Patrick. Thanks for being here. Stop. Perfect. All right. So here's a card based on your intentions, based on, wanting to know what the future is. Well, there you go. The waiting game. So I love it. I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing with you because you're like, I want to know what the future, and the card based on the deck I picked, based on the card you chose, is literally saying this is a waiting game based on your career. You're going around in circles. So see the circles here. But I want you to look past the waiting game, and look at what you've planted. See how these seeds have been planted? I was just talking about that. The seeds you plant give growth to the future of tomorrow. So it's going to take some time with this job, is what the universe is saying, what your intentions that you pick this card to be. But the number 2 energy up here, the 2 energy from the numerology perspective is all about being at peace with what is. So be at peace, even though you may not agree with what the work is doing or where the work is going, but be at peace with what is, because the waiting game is all about things that you've already set in motion and things you plan. It could be a resume, it could be further education. It's going to give way over time to something that's going to bring back and bear fruit, right? But it's that waiting game. And that's so hard for us as humans, right? Because we're such a real-time want it now kind of species, right? Like, I want it now, I want it now. And one of the foundations is that I teach on in my spiritual practice and to my students is that patience. Trust, patience are two of the foundational pillars of what I teach on, right? Discipline, dedication, transformation doesn't happen without time. Like a crystal does not become a crystal. A diamond doesn't become a diamond until because it starts out as a piece of coal in a dark place, and that pressure creates the diamond effect, but it takes time, right? That patience pays off, right? Patience pays off. There's power in patience. So that's really what the card, and that's what the message for you today, Kelly, is power and patience. Patience pays off. So be patient and be at the two energy of just being at peace with what is. Does that make sense, Kelly? I know it's probably not what you want to hear, but again, it's not what we want, it's what we need. So I hope that helps. All right. Hi, Odith. Can I get a card of your choice, open to receive what the universe has for me? Perfect. So, Odith, when we do this, also when we're working together in the digital aspect, the quantum aspect, because it's weird to even say we're working in a digital construct because you go back 25 years, you're either calling a person on a phone or you're in person pretty much, right? So now we can work digitally. So what I want you to do, Odith, is I want you to take a nice deep breath. Nice deep breath. This is a Sanskrit for breath. That's why I have it here. It's a reminder to breathe. And what happens is when you take that breath in, the auric field is expanded, the mind becomes a little bit more quiet. And what happens is you're setting an intention for wanting to connect to that alignment of the universe, and the energy starts to follow your intention through the laws of physics. So I'll pick the deck for you, and we'll pick the message. Kelly says, yes, I've planted 25 years at work, and I understand. Yes, good. So power and patience. Hi, Angelo. Good to be here. Good to see you, my friend. Thanks for being here. Again, we're opening up to Q&A. Zoom, phone lines open, comment in the comment section. Those are the three ways to connect with me today on Metaphysical Meetup with Marc Live. So the deck I'm going to pick for you, because you're open to the universe, I'm going to pick the Atom, which is all about the universe for you, Odith. And then again, you know how this works. As I start to shuffle and set the intent of the energy of what we want to know into the card deck, you type in stop. When you hear the word stop in your mind, trust your intuition. When you hear the word stop, type it in. You're welcome, Kelly. Hi, Mike. Good to see you. Thanks for being here. When you hear the word stop, Oda, type it in, hit enter, and that's the card that I will pick as I'm shuffling through your message for today. Again, these are just tools to connect to something bigger than ourselves, whether it's a crystal ball or through the palm or through cards. You have so many. Hi, Lucy. You have so many ways to connect to something bigger than yourself. And I know for some of you, I know when I started, I was like, oh, that's weird. That's woo-woo. That's very judgmental, very opinionated on the work of this. But now I find it just so cool and so lovely to be able to stop. Perfect. Thanks, Oda. And then also by doing this interaction, I know that you're still engaged with the show and hanging out with me here on Fridays. So, because I know some people drop in and then drop off, and that's fine. I do this work pro bono to give back, to have community. But Oda, for you today, great card for you, my friend. Look at this. Success, success, success. Now it's matters of the heart because it's the color green, but also money is green, right? But we're moving to more of a cashless system. So color green is tied to the dollar bill, but at the same time, do you really use a lot of money? I don't. I use a lot of digital, PayPal, Venmo, Zelle, Apple Pay. You know, it's like the cash is going away. But success can also resonate with your health because the color of the green, as listed on this card, is all about the heart chakra. That's the color that surrounds the heart chakra. So it can be matters of the heart that you're successful with, right? It can be, sorry, I've got to sit back. I'm still in recovery and rehab, but doing much better. But it can be matters of the heart that you're successful. So relationships, relationship with yourself, relationship with the world, relationship with your family, your friends, your fur babies. That, you know, whatever is coming forward, the universe is saying to you, Oda, there's success there if you allow it to fill that void. So does that make sense, Oda? Hi, Miriam. Anybody else have any other questions? And just type in if it makes sense. You can type in it doesn't make sense. That's fine. I have thick skin, so most of the time I find consistently, though statistically, I find that it makes sense. And if it doesn't make sense now, I always remind my clients and my students that some of the best evidence comes after the connection too. The connections that we have today, I give you a message and it makes no sense. You're like, what the hell is that guy talking about? And you know, a day later, a week later, or a month later, what we're talking about unfolds and manifests into your reality. And then you're like, God, that's what Marc was talking about. And then, you know, it's through those experiences, those soul adventures, that you start to become a believer, you start to trust that there is something bigger than ourselves, whether it's, other portals, extra dimensional beings, angels, higher divine, whatever your belief system is, but you realize that there is more than meets the eye. Was that a old GI Joe cartoon? There's more, or no, Transformers. Maybe it was Transformers, right? Think about the message Transformers, more than meets the eye. The cars that would turn into the advanced um, sentient robots, Transformers. I found that to be interesting. Transformers, more than meets the eye. So, all right, I'm glad that helped, Oda. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being a follower, subscriber to the work that I do as a prospector. And again, if you want to prospect in the future with me, you can go right here to marclainhart.com. You can internet search my name, the Intuitive Prospector. You can get my podcast. There's no podcast until, what's today? The 11th. I kind of been in a whirlwind here. The 23rd will be our next podcast. I don't know if we have a guest or if I'm doing a show. If we're doing a show, I'm going to probably do something on about the Drake equation and Earth 2.0. Some of the stuff I've been researching and reading about, and maybe I'll talk about other dimensions. That's a kind of a fun topic today. But you can get to all of my bookings or any events I have coming up. I do have the Conscious Wellness Expo coming up if you're here local. Just an FYI, I am back. I was supposed to do that in April, but I had my surgery, so I didn't cancel, but they just pushed my booth forward to the 19th and 20th. It's in the Kent Commons. You can go to my events page right here and get those information. I'm in booth, I should know this because I've been doing this for years, booth 59. So if you want to stop by and say hi, get a hug, do some prospecting, get a reading. I don't think I'm speaking this year. I don't think I made the deadline to get in to be a guest speaker because of my recovery and rehabilitation from my surgery, which is fine because there's always next year, right? Next spring I'll be back. But it's the one event that I do every year called the Conscious Wellness Expo. Plus, I love walking around and looking at all the stuff. So I'm working, but I'm also shopping. That's where I got this stone that I was talking about earlier. I got this stone at the Conscious Wellness Expo. It was not cheap either, but that's that Tazarek that I was talking about. These brains, BRANES, that are part of our multidimensional construct of thought and consciousness and being. And so I'll probably get something else this year. I usually get some sort of stone. But if you want to visit me, I'll be there. I believe the doors open at, I think there's a psychic panel at 9 a.m. And then I think we open officially at 10 a.m. on Saturday, the 19th. And then I'll be there Sunday as well from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. So it's a full day doing readings, connecting with people. I love it. I love helping and consulting and prospecting. So if you're in the area, it's at the Kent Commons, and you can get that information at my events page at marclainhart.com. All right. So hi, Wesley. Hi, Solomon. Thanks for being here. Hi, Jill. Hi, Mills. So we're at the tail end of the show now. So if you have any other last questions or concerns or complaints, or if you want to just say hi, you can throw a hi in the chat. You don't have to be shy. Be like, hi, have a great Friday, Mark. You too. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the fall season. Just a little bummed. My Seattle Seahawks lost last night. I was at the game with my nephews and we had a great time, but 49ers kicked our ass. Damn it. I lost a bet. So, but it's my favorite time of the year, fall. It's a reminder that, even though things change and transform, the colors of fall moves into winter, comes back to spring. Same thing with humans. We go through our cycles of transformation. So, so last call, I'll put it out there. Zoom room is open. Zoom link is there. Just look for my avatar. The phone line is open. Just look for my avatar if you want to call in to the business line, or you can type in a question in the chat function or the comments section, and we can work that way. So, hey, Jim, thanks for being here. Thanks for tuning in. We're here Fridays. Most Fridays. I wasn't here last Friday because I was actually out in nature connecting. I always remind people, take the time to disconnect so that we can make the time to reconnect. So I was reconnecting last weekend up at my buddy's cabin on Diamond Lake. So thank you to Kevin and his family for allowing me to connect and rejuvenate and revive and just connect to nature. Nature's a big part of the spiritual path and healing and transformation. Nature is huge, a big part. So I always highly recommend. Hi, Michael. All right, so last call, phone line, Zoom room, or comments. We'll start shutting down. Let me cue up a song to take us out. And then we can call it a day, and you can go about your weekend and have a great rest of your weekend. All right, I think we'll shut down with "A Better Place" by Peter McDonald. Oh, that's always a good song to close down, because my work, I am trying to create a better place, create a better vibration, like I said, be kind, be compassionate, be caring of one another, holding space for everybody impacted by the storms in Florida, the hurricanes. I know that my development group, we always hold space and set, prayer for our family and friends and our fur babies and our colleagues, but also what's going on in the world, our leadership, um, our world, these storms, people impacted by these storms. There's just a lot going on in the world, and that's just the world, right? Life happens. That's part of my altar right here. I got a big plaque that says "Life happens." Life doesn't ask us what we want. Life just happens. About how you either keeping up with the waves of change and being a big wave kahuna surfer on top of the wave, or if you're not keeping up with the waves of change, guess what? You're going to find yourself underneath them right here. And if you've ever been hit by a wave, it's not fun. So, hi, Trishu. Okay, so last call, official, last call, last call. So thanks for those of you who came in. Hi, Brandy. Thanks for being here. Again, if you want to learn more about who I am, you can search my name, the Intuitive Prospector, visit me, get on all the different platforms I'm on. If you want to listen to the podcast, Inspired Living, we are now ranked as the best spiritual and best inspirational podcast to listen to and follow. You can go wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. You can also get us through Audible. We all are also streaming through Alexa. You can just say, Alexa, open up Inspired Living podcast, and you'll get the last episode that we did, which was all about mental health and suicide awareness and suicide ideation with a great guest that he wrote a book about it. And that actually plays a big part of my tattoo, the semicolon. My story's not over. My journey's not over. It's a period indicates the end of a sentence. Semicolon means it's just a pause. So I appreciate all you. Hi, Kenny. Hi, Patrice. Thanks for being here. So we're just wrapping up. If you have any other questions, or if you want to do a quick reading, again, the Zoom room link is out there up in the comment section up above. My telephone line is there, my business line, if you ever want to call. You can ask me to pick a card, do a book reading, or just ask a basic question. So I'll give it 30 more seconds, and then we'll cue it up for A Better Place by Peter McConnell. And then I'll be back next week. I should be back. Yeah, 18th, I'll be back. And then I'll also be at the Conscious Wellness Expo in Kent Commons for 2 days on the 19th and 20th if you're local here to the Seattle area, or you're coming into the Pacific Northwest. I'd love to see you, give you a hug. I love to meet people that I interact with on the digital platforms all the time. And some people, you make sure to introduce yourself and where you know me from, because I get a lot of different interactions with people. I'm like, they know me, but how do I know you? Where do I know you from? Right. So just remind me, hey, I'm on your show, or I've done a reading with you, or just because I work with a lot of people from around the world. So, and that is my journey now that I'm technically retired on paper. This is what I'm moving forward into doing, and love doing it. So the secret of life, y'all, get paid to do what you love in the physical material world of life. All right. So we'll close out with that. So thanks for hanging out today. I appreciate all of you. Appreciate the community. Appreciate the feedback. Appreciate you listening. Again, today's topic, we were talking all about other dimensions. This will be over on my YouTube channel next week if you missed it here, or you can always go back and watch the replay on the Intuitive Prospector page. Just hit that subscribe button, or if you want to get on my Diamonds Hub or Patreon Prospector page, those links are down here at marclainhart.com. And there's special features within that aren't available to the public, including the first Friday of every month, which is called Diamonds Days, where you can actually get a reading or consult or healing or meditation with me if you're a subscriber. So if you're interested in doing that, it's $4.99 a month for the Diamonds Hub, and then the Patreon has a couple of subscribers brackets depending on what your intent and what you want to do on your journey of prospecting and spiritual healing, awareness, and transformation. Hi, Tim. Hi, Rebecca. So got some people dropping in. Good to see you. All right. So I'm going to close there. Again, thanks for hanging out. Much appreciated. Much love. Holding space for everybody impacted by the storms on the East Coast and what's going on in our world. The wars, there's a lot going on. And I believe that we can make a change, and we can make a change by our thoughts, by our words, and by our actions. So hi Perry, or Perry, am I saying that right? Perry, Jacqueline. Hi, Ivan. Good to see you. Thanks for being here. So I try to give everybody a shout out if I can, if I see you. So we're going to close again with A Better Place, because that's what we're all trying to do, is make this world a better place. I appreciate you hanging out with me here in the Zoom room today. I'll be back next Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time here in Seattle, Metaphysical Meetup with Marc live. And then we'll have our next podcast on the 23rd of October. I'm just not sure what we're doing yet, so it's still a few weeks out. And then the Conscious Wellness Expo in person here on 19th and 20th at Kent Commons in Kent, Washington. All right, hi, Gene. All right, take care, my friends. And you know what I love to say, until our next soul adventure together, be kind, be caring, be compassionate in all that you do. And let's make this a better place for all of us, for our friends, our family, our fur babies, and the world. And much love, many blessings. Appreciate all of you. And I'll see you next time here on the Intuitive Prospector page. Take care. Namaste.
When we're all in a better place, when we're all in a better place, if the wind blows free from the treetops to the ocean, why can't we be in a better place? In me too. There are shards in the sun, and it rains on everyone, and everything's undone and broken until we're all in a better place. Yeah, we're all in a better place. When the water flows straight down to the ocean, why are the lines so hard to trace? I'm not asking you not to be you. I don't want you to change your life, but I just want to be together, you and me, from sea to shining sea, the way it used to be. Remember, we were all in a better place. Here we were all in a better place. Yeah, the river runs wild, nothing is for certain. Why let this moment go to waste? Are you ready for that grand embrace? Right here in a better
One planet, 7.3 billion people, only one you. Life offers us many opportunities and learning experiences. Are you ready to explore and discover this beautiful planet, the life and energy all around us, the spiritual world, and what is unseen, along with your own personal soul adventure? Marc Lainhart, the Intuitive Prospector, is the spiritual connection you have been prospecting for. Internationally known as a tested and professional clairvoyant medium and spiritual advisor, Marc's work as a metaphysical teacher, medical instructor, radio show host, inspirational writer, and hiking guide are here to help you on a journey of self-discovery, healing, inspiration, education, and a whole lot of spiritual awesomeness. Dare to dream, dare to explore, dare to live. For more information on Marc's spiritual practice in Seattle, Washington, please visit marclainhart.com or internet search The Intuitive Prospector.